It's a little chilly this morning here in Florida. We have our first cold front, in quotes, for the year. I'll put it in quotes for you people up north so you don't complain. Just jealous. Anyway, I'm going to finish out my review here of the Formula XI from Hoyt and the Velos Formula limbs as well. I've already done a video tuning the bow, and now I'm going to be shooting it here at 70 meters to give my final thoughts on how it feels and how good of a shooting bow it actually is. So just like I said in the intro there, I've already set up and tuned this bow and gave some initial feedback and impressions. I'll have links in the description below for that, as well as a card at the top up there in case you're interested in checking that out. But today, after it being tuned, I'm going to shoot it here at 70 meters. I have a camera downrange so you'll be able to see the impact points. And I'm going to do an end or two of sight in and warm up. And then I'm going to get into shooting a 36 arrow round for score here at 70 meters on a standard 122 centimeter World Archery face. Like I said in the previous video, I really like the feel of the bow, especially now that I have it tuned. And you know, I had some thoughts about putting those plastic washers in there behind the limb bolts to get a little bit of extra draw weight so I could get the bow to tune and be fair in the video. And you know, I wondered why it felt different, and I wonder if it's because it's plastic and it's not metal, and it's got a little bit of give and it absorbs a little bit of the limb flutter or just that after shot shock, you know. I'm not entirely sure, and I should probably play around with that and try it to set it with different durometer bushings and things like that, and set everything at the same draw weight and see if it affects the way the bow feels. So maybe I'll do that, something like that in the future. I think it could be fun. But for today, we're just gonna get all sighted in and shoot a 36 arrow round for score. I'm gonna set my sight somewhere near where it was with the Exceed riser when I was shooting it at 70 meters. It should be pretty close. Quick on that one. Apparently I'm feeling strong today, setting them off a little too soon. Shoot a 10 eventually. I'm gonna go down and get them and shoot another end to warm up. Just feeling a little rusty today. Haven't shot in a few days, and the chilliness is definitely affecting me. You know, I'm starting to warm up. I may take my sweatshirt off here in a few ends, but not quite there yet. I do like the way the bow feels itself. It draws very smooth. It feels a little smoother than the Exceed did. You know, to get back to full draw, feels a lot more comfortable. I have been shooting a little bit more, so that could be just me getting stronger, to be honest. But I still feel like there's a little bit to be desired on the reaction after the shot compared to the ILF Hoyt bow of this year. But it is very smooth and it's easy to shoot as of right now. Finally. I seem pretty well sighted in, so I'm going to go ahead and say good enough to start scoring here for this review. And you know, first initial impressions of the day is that it's easy to shoot. It's almost too easy in some ways. I'm having to slow down my expansion time actually. I don't know what draw weight it is. I've not measured it yet still, to be frank. It just feels very easy. I've had to move my clicker back a couple clicks, and honestly I slow down my tempo a bit to make the shot break. So for what that's worth, I don't know, but that's what I'm starting to find out. So I'm gonna go get them and I'm gonna start scoring. I'm gonna shoot 6 arrow ends, 6 ends of 6 arrows for 36 arrows, total out of 360 points. That's a standard World Archery 360 round here at 70 meters, and we'll see what we come up with here with this Hoyt Formula XI and Velos combo. All right, first one for score here at 70 meters, and we'll do 6 arrow ends. Good start. All right, a good looking 56 to start. They all felt pretty good, minus that one little high one there. Like I said, it just feels really easy to shoot. And even on that last one, I could hear the wind coming through the pines and the palms behind me. And I knew that this gust that we're having right now was on its way. And I was like, all right, well, I'm gonna settle in and I'm gonna really go and speed it up a bit. And it did go a bit faster. So like I said, so far, it just feels like it's easier to shoot for some reason, one reason or another. I don't know if it's the draw weight. I will be measuring that and finding out exactly what the draw weight is, but overall right now I'm actually pretty pleasantly impressed with how easy the bow is to shoot. Little soft on the release. Those right ones, one went quick, one was soft. One had the tension heading that way slightly. The Hybrid 8, just not the most ideal shot in the world. A little uneasy, unsettled. But so far this bow is shooting really well as far as grouping is concerned. I mean, I'm impressed with the group size considering I haven't even fine-tuned it, and you know, meaning they just, it wants to shoot relatively small groups, which is nice. It's really nice to see. So that end was a 55, so far 111. Part of the reason that it could be going off much easier is because I do have a slight different focal point change. I've switched from not really focusing on a whole lot as I'm drawing back to now purposefully drawing back with my shoulder using land 2, as Coach Lee says, and really leading the drawing back with that. And it feels a whole lot better. It feels more efficient, and maybe that's the reason why it's setting off quicker. Who knows? I don't know. That's part of this game, part of archery, is you make changes and adjustments to both your equipment and yourself, and which came first, I don't know. It's hard to say. You know, those ones, to be fair for this video, I want to fight through instead of letting down to get an idea of how does it feel when it's a bit of a struggle to get it to go off, and I could still control it. The bow still felt stable, which I like. All right, we got another 55 down there, so 3 ends down, 56, 55, 55. Halfway done, and this bow still feels like it's shooting quite easy. Again, could be my form, could be the bow, but it does feel good, I'll give it that. Now, it has been a few years since I've shot a formula bow, so this could be the bow and not me. The sun's really changed positions now, and my string's really bright, and so's my sight pin. The sun is in the total opposite position that it should be shooting in the morning. Let's hope it doesn't affect the groups too much. Well, like I said, the sun has changed. That affected a couple of shots there. It's just a little tough to see past the sight pin because it's like very sunburst right now. Too bright. Need some tape on it to dull down the brightness. But the bow is still easy to shoot and it still feels stable. I just got to do a better job on my end. So that one's only a 51. A little bit to be desired on that one. I do believe that was my fault though. All right, this is the 5th end. Let's really hope I can pull it together and not shoot a 51 again with this sun here. It's a little intense. It's been a while since I've had to deal with these slight little changes in lighting conditions. Field archery definitely will harden you and make you ready for this kind of stuff, and it's been far too long that I've been out on a field course. It's one of my favorite games of archery, to be totally truthful. Left. Well, that was a good one. That'd be a 56 again. Just a little bit of a change of thought on that last arrow, thinking more on the shoulder because I didn't draw enough with it, so I decided to transfer with it more, and routines, importance of routines. Well, that one's a 56, better than a 51. Keep at it, one more end. And like I said, still holding true, still shoots easy. Last end here for score at 70 meters with this Formula XI Velos combo. A little soft, sloppy, hitchy on the release on that one. I don't know if you saw it, but it's enough to shoot a 9, almost an 8. So I was just thinking to myself that, you know, I've noticed it's easy to shoot, but it may not be forgiving to the point of when I have a really less than ideal shot. It definitely seems to go further out from the middle than when comparing to other bows I have shot in recent past with similar shooting strength. Could be totally wrong. Could be the bow's tuned, just like I said. That's why it's potentially shooting better groups. Just maybe set up where it's a little bit oversensitive and maybe not as ideal as it could be. So I have noticed that. You know, I do shoot really good tight inner groups, but I have larger flyers than compared to other setups that I've shot recently. Now, yes, the conditions are a little bit more windy and a little bit more tricky with the sun. So that does have a, it is a contributing factor as well. This bow does have a ring to it though. I don't know if you can hear it, but I can hear a ping after every shot. Ping! That about does it. Looks like a 53 to finish. So definitely not the best score I've shot. In some ways, like I said, it feels like it shot really, really well, really, really easy. And then in other ways, it was a bit punishing. Potentially due to it being almost unpredictable in the way it goes off. But that wasn't the problem. So I shot a 326 there out of 360. Definitely lower on the, within the recent scores I've shot. Definitely partially due to the wind. I was typically tending to hit a little bit high right because I have no idea what the wind's doing, and sometimes I'd aim low left 10-ish area and hit low left, like that one that's just low right there. On this end, it didn't drift enough as far as it didn't get pushed enough by the wind to hit high, but it did drift left to right enough. I guessed that part correct. So part of it's definitely the conditions, that the score wasn't quite there for this this Formula XI Exceed combo. But I think that overall, the bow does shoot and feel really well. And I think if I spent more time setting it up, fine-tuning it, and really just getting this thing dialed in, I bet you I could shoot a lot better with it and it'd be a bit more comfortable. But it is comfortable already. So I don't know what I'm looking for necessarily. I just feel like, I don't know, there was something missing. Something that wasn't really getting me in the center consistently, or at least wasn't keeping me in the gold consistently. It could be a stabilizer setup, could be tune, could be me, could be the weather, could be the sun. I don't know. Really, really hard to say, and that's really the difficult thing about doing this on my end, is I cannot always isolate things in a very concise manner that I can convey to you in a way that you're going to understand. So it is a little challenging for me to get to that point, but I feel like overall it's still not as fine as the finely tuned and refined-ish as the Exceed is, as far as the feeling and the harmonics after the shot. It is more dead. There is less overall action, but there is more overall amplitude at a lower frequency that I feel in this bow, which is very typical of what every Hoyt that I shot for years was feeling like when I shot for Hoyt and specifically was shooting the formulas. Again, when I first did the initial impressions of this setup, I said that it sounded like an American Hoyt. It didn't sound like a Korean setup, meaning it didn't have that distinct tone that a Korean style setup does, despite me using all the same stuff that I have been using on all of my Win and Win and ILF stuff, and those do sound like Korean setups. So I don't know if it's just the dynamics and the harmonics of this riser, and maybe the way that this whole thing comes into play. Could be the length of the lever, I don't know, but it is slightly different, and it definitely does sound different to me. But again, it felt super smooth and super easy to shoot. I had to move the clicker back a little bit. I did make some slight form adjustments, not necessarily changes. It was just a more of a focal point changed, again, drawing back with the shoulder. So that could be what's changing the feel of the smoothness and the ease of shooting. The fit and finish on this thing is second to none as far as I'm concerned. I really like their new finishes. Apparently these are tumbled, not hand polished or blasted, which is good. That means more consistency as far as I'm concerned, and I'm glad to see that they're employing that. The limb finish, I do prefer the gloss finish wise, just for the sake of stringing. It feels a lot easier to string, although I like the look of the mat better. Plus I believe it'll last a bit longer as far as being aligned and consistent. Other than that, I mean, there's very little issues here or there. You know, there are some, the label is a little thick and proud on this side, and I can feel a sharp edge there instead of the nice smooth rounded edges that I feel on the rest of the limbs themselves, because I think the decal was just a little bit oversized and didn't get trimmed right. You know, I've seen some issues on some other bows where the Hoyt actually lays over and wraps around the limb because it was too oversized and they didn't trim it. You know, I've seen that in coaching people and setting up their stuff, and I saw that before. But the overall fit and finish and the value that you get is quite high. You know, you get an extra grip, you get a little bit more as far as stuff that comes with the bow, stickers and keychains and things like that. So they do try to add more value there, and I appreciate that. Overall, I think the bow itself, this Formula XI and Exceed combo, it's a good shooting setup. I do believe that I could make it much better with a lot more time. When you compare this setup, the Formula setup, to an ILF setup, I think that the ILF is better suited for beginners or people who are developing, because your weight range, the adjustment in the limb bolts, should be more on the ILF bow. I haven't confirmed that, but I don't believe my theory is incorrect. So I think the ILF would be better suited for beginner shooters. Obviously that would hold true as well, because you could put any limb in it instead of just a Hoyt or just a Formula. So that is another selling point there. But the Formula does have, at least right now, a little bit of a smoother, easier to shoot feel. And I believe with a lot more time, I might be able to make this feel exactly how I want it to, but it still may not ever sound like a Korean setup, which just has that nice, sweet sounding, definitive difference in sound and tone after the shot, and I'm not sure you can get it with a Formula setup. Does sound matter? Sounds don't make tens, but I do like the sound of the crowd when you do shoot tens. So I don't know. It's just one of those things. Just one of those things that I feel like needed to be said, and I'm glad to be able to put this content out there for you guys to check out. If you wouldn't mind, if you made it this far, please do subscribe. It does genuinely help this channel. It notifies you when you hit the notification bell when I upload new stuff, so you get these videos sooner than anybody else if you have the notifications turned on. And it genuinely does make a difference on this channel. I appreciate it very much. If you are interested, again, I have my own grips at Arcor, links and a coupon code in the description below. So far, the feedback on these have been very good. RS over at Arcor does a great job of not just producing the grips and making them look nice, but also great customer service if anybody had any issues. I would appreciate if anybody would go in and leave reviews on those. That's always appreciated as well. So again, if you are interested too, I do have a book, Tuning for Performance, How I Tune and Set Up My Bows. So you'll be able to do it just like I do. I also have links in the description for that, and it's available on my website, jkaminski.com.